The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
You're listening to The Secrets of Technology. Hello and welcome to The Secrets of Technology, where we talk about the hidden meanings and deeper layers found in our technology we use every day. I'm Father Corey Stika, taking over from Dom Bentinelli this week. Fortunately, Joanne Mercier is here with me. How's it going, Joanne?
I'm doing well, Father Corey. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Here you guys got a little bit of a storm going on right now, but...
Oh, yeah, and I'm missing Dom. So.
Yeah, I am too. Of course, for those who don't know, he's had some problems with his house, but we're keeping him in our prayers, and hopefully we'll see him out here on technology, the Secrets of Technology soon. Because
I hope so.
I know he's eager to be getting back to normal as well, as you can understand.
Yeah, and with the storm today, it's not helping. So
no, I'm sure not. Oh, I'm sure not. So today, we're going to go back to a very popular trope, it seems like, here on Secrets of Technology, because it's a concern for a lot of parents, especially, is social media. We're talking again about social media, but how to change how social media acts. This is based off an article that was in the Wall Street Journal recently called "How to Fix Facebook, Instagram, and Social Media, Change the Defaults." So, a lot of concern about social media is the feedback that it gives you, where, you post something, and of course you sit there and wait for someone, the likes and the comments and the responses. And, if you post something and people like it, you're going to post more things like that, and so on and so on. Well, a lot of the social media sites, you can change that so you don't see that, especially for kids. That feedback loop can be broken by doing very simple things like turning it off. You can actually turn off seeing the likes on your social media. And that's one thing this article kind of points out. Now, Joanne, how much do you find yourself using Facebook and all those things?
Well, I have to use Facebook for my job.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I work in a collaborative, for those of you who don't know, and we have Facebook pages, and we're consolidating them into one, and I still am part of the social media group that posts stuff that has to go up there, like today, where you have to cancel a meeting because there's no power.
Right.
But so I use it for work. I'm on Twitter, but I go maybe once every couple of weeks to see if anything's interesting. I don't have Instagram. I don't have Pinterest.
Right.
I never went into the other parts of social media, only because I don't know what it is. I don't want to have my life defined by knowing all these people that I've never met before.
Right.
I guess, they're all your friends. Well, I've never met them.
Yeah.
It's one thing, it's one thing on Facebook, because my Facebook friends, quote unquote, are a mixture of my family and people that I have met throughout. Every once in a while I get a rogue person that wants to be my friend. I'm like, nah, you look like a Russian bot. That isn't working for me. But other than that, I use it, but I end up spending a lot of time explaining to parents how they should use it.
Right.
Because I see the effect on the kids.
And that's the important thing about this, this article, but what we want to talk about today is, what these social media do. And I've really been pulling back from social media. I'm not on, I am on Facebook, but I check it extremely rarely. I still have my Twitter account. I probably should just deep six it and, nuke it from orbit and never look at it again, because I find Twitter to be one of the worst. I don't have Instagram. I don't have Snapchat or TikTok or whatever the cool thing is this week. I've got a couple other, groups. And actually, I spend more time on good old fashioned web forums for a couple of, special interests that I have than I do on anything like a Facebook. Matter of fact, the only reason I really keep my Facebook account is the Messenger is a very convenient way. The actual Messenger app on your phone is very, very convenient for communicating with others. But I'm actually considering those who I want to communicate that way, telling them, you got my phone number, text me. Just use good old-fashioned text messaging.
Yeah, I just had a cousin leave Facebook, and you should have seen the people that were, well, how am I going to get in touch with you? She's like, just ask me for my phone number. And
Yeah.
It's like a foreign concept
Email.
anymore. Yeah, email is good. Email still works.
Yeah, email still works well. And, and like I said, text messaging, I'm not a big one admittedly for actually talking on the phone, but that's only because, I prefer the quick, dash off a text message or an email than talking on the phone. But that's just me. But, still there are ways we can communicate that doesn't require big tech. Like, at least the big social media might be a better way to put it.
But, I do have a friend who is moving to a foreign country. In January, and we do have to find some of those other resources to use, so we are looking at, I believe it's WeChat.
Okay.
I want to say that's the one we're looking at, because if FaceTime or something like that causes one or both of us to have to spend oodles of money, talking to each other from Europe to America, then we're going to try to use something that kind of spans the globe.
Right.
But that's the only reason why I would use it.
Yeah.
I'm not that cool.
Yeah.
Anymore. I am not that cool.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of frustrating because social media had so much promise when it came out. I mean, remember when Twitter and Facebook was really kind of getting started, and it was a way that you could communicate with people very easily. You could talk about what things are going on in your daily life, your interests and everything. And as the algorithms came in, it started siloing people. It really, it really developed echo chambers. And that's one of the concerns this article brings up is these algorithms. You start hearing more from people who agree with you and less from people who disagree with you. And sometimes that's not a bad thing, but it's led to the situation we have today where if you have someone who disagrees with you, you just cut them out of your life. And they're haters and they're evil, and and you see it in the political sphere, you see it in the church, you see it in all these different groups where instead of I know we disagree, but we can still be civil about it. It's if you disagree with me, you are personally attacking me, is what it's really led to.
I don't take that tack at all, but I will snooze people if they're starting to get a little too politically motivated.
Right.
In their posts. Only it's going to take me a while to do it. I just did it recently because I kept seeing misinformation.
Right.
So much of it that I was like, you know what? You got to go to sleep for 30 days because I need to put you in timeout and just not right now.
And the sad part is they probably don't even realize they're posting misinformation, even with, the fact checkers, because the fact checkers are notoriously horrible. I'm sorry, but they don't realize they're posting misinformation. They think what they're posting is a response to misinformation coming from other people and other sources.
Right. But what bothers me big time about the algorithms is the fact that it asks you, who do you want to see posts from first?
Right.
And I have starred all these people I want to see posts from first. And it gives me everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute, you've just asked me, who do I want to see?
Exactly.
These are the people I want to see. And I also want to see my recents first. I don't want to see what you want to send me. I want to see my recents, what's going on in the timeline.
Well, yeah, I love that that's one of the things that kind of led to me saying I'm done with Facebook is I'd see someone post an article or post a comment, I'd respond, and then I'd look and see they posted this 2 days ago, 3 days ago. Why do I need to see this now? So I mean, there's lots of these complaints. And you mentioned you talk to parents about what it does to kids. Mention a little bit kind of what you tell them.
Oh. Basically, what I say to them is, number one, if your kid is under 13, they have no reason to be on Facebook or on Instagram or any of that. But that doesn't translate. Right. Oh, but my kid, but I'm on my kid's Facebook page. I said, yeah, no matter what age, you should be on your kid's Facebook page. Because if you're not and they don't want you there, there's a red flag. Okay, if your kids don't, I mean, it's not just I don't want to be seen with my parents. No, I'm trying to hide some crap from my parents. So I don't, you've got to know what's going on. But also they don't know how to use the product itself for themselves, so they don't know how to find the parental controls or the controls period that they could use on their kid's Facebook page and say, until you are a certain age, then I want these things off.
Right.
I mean, I believe still that you can turn off geolocation. Mm-hmm. You don't want anybody to know where your kid is, your 14-year-old kid. I mean, if the kid gets off the wrong bus or something, you want to find the kid, but then I don't think half the parents would know how to use that in that respect.
Right.
But they just don't understand the platform well enough.
Correct.
To be able to secure it for their child.
In both the social media platform and the phones themselves, this article focuses on what the you can do within the app itself, within Instagram, within Facebook, within Twitter. But the phones themselves, like you talk about geolocation, you don't have to rely on Facebook or Twitter or WhatsApp or whatever, having that option. All you have to do is go into Android or iOS settings and say, do not allow this to use the GPS. Done. Right. And there is nothing the app can do to fix that. Especially if you've got parental control.
But it screams at you, we can't give you the best service unless you have that on. Exactly.
And, and if you've got parental controls on the phone itself, that can solve that problem as well.
Yes.
So the kid can say, well, I want to use this. Oh, what's the password? Can't log it in. Can't do it. So, one thing parents need to do is go and look at the settings. And of course, it's frustrating because they bury them under so many layers of options. Yes, you go into settings for Facebook. Like the article points out first, you can turn off likes and view counts on Instagram. You can turn that off. It is an option, but you got to do the little settings icon, whatever it looks like. I guess I don't use Instagram, but it talks about the head icon, which I'm assuming is your little avatar icon.
I guess.
Settings, privacy, posts, and then like and view counts. I mean, that's 4 steps just to get to the option to turn it off.
Well, and they talk about the recent on the Facebook as well. I love the line, despite company efforts to improve it, the setting on my iPhone is still more buried than tulip bulbs.
Yeah.
That is perfect because you can't, I look for it all the time. And that's the first thing I hit.
Exactly.
I don't want to look at my Facebook page unless I'm looking at what's the most recent.
Right.
And then I'll go backwards because you get caught, like you said, more than one time responding to somebody.
Yep.
And it's like 4 days later and you're like, they're not reading that. They're past it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They'll get the notification. They'll kind of, oh, cool. Next, and again too, while the article focuses on what you can do within the stores, and you can do that. You can turn off reactions in Facebook as well. Although how many people actually know that? How many people know you can turn off reactions? How many people know that you can go through and you can tweak the algorithm? Because the algorithm, you go in, and I don't even remember where it is, but it's so deep in the bowels of Facebook. I think it takes half an hour just to find it.
Probably.
There's an option where you can look at, here's the silos Facebook has put you in. You are in my case, a male who's in his 40s, who's interested in this, who's a computer geek, who's this. You can tweak those. Now, whether or not the algorithm listens to that or not is another story. We don't know that because, of course, the algorithm is more tightly guarded than Area 51. But,
I would agree with that, by the way, because while you're saying all this, I'm looking in the menu to find where the settings are, and boy, is it buried already. Yeah. So even if you go to your, what I call the Hollywood squares, and you try to find settings, it is so difficult to find settings.
Yeah, it's in there, but it's like one option, and then they'll have an app setting and a general setting for Facebook, and and then once you're in there, you've got a whole menu of settings for privacy, but privacy might not be the same as security, and it might not be the same as what you're seeing, and it's I hate to say it, but I think these social media purposely make things as obscure as possible to get people to just give up.
Yes, exactly. And I don't.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something parents need to do is they need to educate themselves on these tools, how to fix it, how to change options on their kids, how to restrict kids from it. I mean, I'll be honest, I am getting to the point of the best thing parents could do is delete their kids' social media accounts, period. They do not need it.
Agree.
It's so funny is this is just the same argument that was made 20 years ago when smartphones were starting to come out. Parents, my kid needs a cell phone in case he needs to call us. Funny, your school has phones. You know, we got this problem taken care of. When I was a kid, 30 some years ago, 40 years ago, we could just go to the office and use the phone at the school to call home if we needed to. The school would allow us to do that. They still allow kids to do that today.
You have no idea, 20 years ago when I was teaching, how many cell phones I confiscated.
Oh, yeah.
Or how many cell phones would be going off in the lockers during class.
Yep.
And 9 times out of 10 on the other side of that phone was a parent.
Yeah.
Wasn't their friends calling each other, the parents calling them.
Right. You know,
so they don't
now,
have to call the office.
And now kids, of course, they're doing their whatever platform they're using today, TikTok or whatever, in the classroom while the teacher's, teaching. You know, and when they should be paying attention. You know.
I can't imagine now what teachers are going through.
Oh.
With all that technology.
You know, and of course they've got the technology. The kids have the technology there too. Of they get the iPads or the Chromebooks or whatever the school issues them, and so it's that's not a bad thing. I mean, kids need to know technology. I think schools can do a lot more to help kids understand technology better.
Right,
and that'd be another conversation for another day.
Right, but I think you're correct, Father, when you said that parents just need to not give them this technology at this point. Again, Facebook, I think most of these, Facebook, Instagram, say you have to be 13 years or older.
By law.
And parents are signing up these kids at age 7, at age 8, at age 10, and just lying for their kid. So what is that teaching them?
Yeah, exactly. And it is, I don't know if people realize, but there have been several laws passed here in the United States and in Europe that have required that you must be at least 13 years of age or older to be on these social media. And that, because I remember was it about 5-10 years ago, there was actually a big purge of these media where they went through and they deleted accounts that were younger than that, just gone.
Right.
And because otherwise they would get sued massive amounts of money per account, and which of course for Facebook would still be a drop in the bucket, but that's another story. Facebook and Google and all them. But but parents need to be, like you said, they need to be on their kids' accounts. They need to be watching their kids' accounts if their kids have them. They need to be restricting them. They need to be using the parental controls. And the biggest problem with the social media is it's so addictive. That's why these kids are on it all the time. That's why they've got the TikTok accounts and everything, and why there are so many problems kids are having because of these accounts, the social media.
Oh yeah, I've explained to parents before when we were kids, we could leave the bullies at school. We left the bullies on the playground. We left them at school. Home was a safe place.
Yep.
Not anymore.
Exactly.
Not when the technology is in your pocket, y'all. Yep. It's in your pocket and they're always there, texting, TikTok, whatever they're doing, WeChat, whatever they're doing, Messenger, they're always able to get to you.
Exactly.
Because parents haven't taught them to shut it off.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. And this is a true story. My collaborative doesn't have a regular phone system. It has a system called Grasshopper, which is over the internet.
Yep.
It came out of the pandemic, and someone called me the other day and they transferred it to my extension. And the person on the other end, I was talking to the person, I said, "Oh, give me a minute." I said, "I just happened to be running out during lunch because I'm working at home." And this person was flabbergasted that they called my office and was sent to my home.
Right.
Now, the point I'm trying to make is this person says to me, don't you find that a bit annoying? And I said, no, because I know when and how to turn it off.
Right.
We can do the same thing with social media, but kids have not been. A kid wants to be liked and loved and accepted and affirmed, and I get that. But a parent needs to be able to say to a kid, if somebody's bothering you, you either A, need to tell us, and B, you need to turn it off.
Right.
You need to block the person. You need to know how to do all those things. But these kids aren't getting that message.
No. And especially, it's frustrating when you see little kids that are being entertained the whole time with an iPad, or they're learning early on, you use these devices all the time. And then the kids are getting the smartphones and they're not putting them down. They're not being taught. I honestly wonder how many parents basically take the phone away from their kids on a regular basis, like nightly, like for supper or homework, or actually a lot of schools aren't even doing homework anymore.
I'm going to venture a guess and say less than 10%. And I might be right.
And I mean, it's been a concern for a long time of families not getting together for a meal. Just flat out saying 6 o'clock is time for meal. I don't care if there's sports practice. I don't care if there's, this event or that event. You will be home at 6 o'clock for supper, and holding the kids to it. And I know for a fact that's not happening for a lot of kids, even in a small town here, because at 6 o'clock, they're probably just finishing up practice. If they don't have their own car, parents go pick them up and they grab something to eat on the road and go.
The parent is probably in the gym or shopping, so the parent's not home either.
Exactly.
Nobody's home.
Exactly. So these kids are not learning how to turn off that technology. No. How to just leave it alone. Put it, set it on your headboard and leave it alone and walk away, and just don't, and that's the biggest thing parents could teach. But going back to these social media though, it's helping kids understand how to manage it as well. And again, that's one thing, learning how to do the different settings within there as a parent. You use yourself, taking your Facebook account, your Twitter account, learning how it works, and then doing it for your kid and locking your kid so that they can't change it.
And a pro tip for that is your best bet to getting to these settings is through a web browser. It's a lot easier to see all of them on a web browser than it is in the apps themselves. Right. So if you go to a web browser, say for Facebook, and you're on you're in your Facebook page, just go all the way over to the right with the down arrow that says account, and you go to settings and privacy. And yes, there are 20 million things there. Figure it out. Look at everything. Yep. You'll be surprised at what you find.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing to learn is how to turn off notifications on your phone. That's the biggest thing. You turn off notifications, you turn off geolocation. There's so many options that you can get rid of that will make your life easier. That's one thing the Catholic apologist Matt Fradd has been really pushing, is how to get that I have to have the phone in my hand and I have to be connected all the time. How to get away from that. He's actually gotten to the point where I think you could call it a smart dumb phone. It's called a wise phone. Okay. Where it is very basic. I mean, the most advanced option it has is maps. Oh, so wow. It looks like a smartphone. It's a full screen, what they call a chocolate bar type phone. But it doesn't have web browser. It doesn't have an app store. It doesn't have Facebook. It's just got texting. It's got phone. It's got a clock. It's got a calculator. Like I said, it's got maps, and that's about it. And I think that's maybe a little bit to the extreme, although I think for his personality, he's kind that he needs that. But I think for a lot of people, just going into your notification setting, and both Android and iOS can do this, and either making it so it's silent so it doesn't immediately flash on your screen every time you get a Facebook message, or even just turning it off completely. Right. And it's very easy to do, but you just got to learn for your phone how to do it.
But you know what? I don't know if it's a generational thing or not. Matt Fradd is, I would say, a millennial.
Yeah, he's a little younger than me. Yeah, so he'd be millennial.
Yeah, so he'd be a millennial. They grew up with that. To someone like me who didn't grow up with that, who went through the phase of, yes, I have to have everything with me all the time.
Right.
I'm in that phase now where I can just sort of, if something comes through because of work, I look at my watch and say, okay, I'll check that later.
Yep.
And that's it. And I'm done. And yes, I did go through, I'll admit, that being that, for a little while there, I was one of those little attic-y people who, would had to jump on it every single time. But you just get to a point of, this needs to work for me.
Right.
Not me work for it.
Exactly.
So when you change that attitude, and I don't know, maybe I'm a Pollyanna thinking people can just change that attitude. But if you teach your children that attitude from the beginning, this works for you.
Right.
You're not a slave to it.
Yeah.
That would probably change a lot of behavior, or not get the behavior started.
Right.
Because you're learning how to use it in the proper way.
Yeah, I recently saw a video which we won't link to because it's somewhat political, and it's coming from a certain political view that some of our listeners might not agree with. But I think this person made some very good points that things like TikTok, because there is such the instant feedback, is starting to, and it's based off of, if I remember right, some surveys and some peer reviews and peer-reviewed research and stuff like that, that there are actual mental illnesses that people, especially younger, like teens and 20s, are taking on.
Wow.
Like tics, was it Tourette's, how they'll have like tics. People are actually starting to take that on as a mental illness that they don't actually have.
Oh, wow.
Some of the issues with gender identity that have become so strong in the last 5-10 years are because they see people on social media getting support for being, non-binary or strange, pronouns or trans this and trans that. And a lot of it is they don't actually have the mental illness behind that. They don't actually have gender dysphoria, for example. They don't actually have Tourette's. They don't actually have, but because they can learn that behavior and put it out there, it's starting to feed that. And that's because these kids were never learned how to get away from that. And so they're getting the response they want from the social media.
I get it. Okay.
So it's a real concern with this media. So I the biggest thing, I think, if there's anything we can say to parents, is you need to be watching very closely what your kids are doing on that phone. If they have a phone with social media, you need to be watching it. You need to be locking it down. Yes, especially if you've got a teen. That kid is going to fight you. That kid's going to get upset. That kid's going to throw a temper tantrum.
I don't think it's even teenager. I think it's middle schoolers.
Yeah, middle schoolers too, but.
Yeah, usually in elementary, the kids go either
they'll be
way
upset,
on the
but
stuff.
they'll get away with it. But
right, but when you get to middle school and they're starting to act out and they want that affirmation from friends. Yeah, I don't think it's even teenage at this point. I think we're down to middle schoolers.
Well, middle school's kind of early teen, but yeah, same kind of idea. But it's parents need to be giving limits to their kids, and parents need to learn for them. All of us need to learn for ourselves, because again, we talk about these silos and this echo chamber that so many of these social media can become, and YouTube can be just as bad because these algorithms really feed into each other. And because it's frustrating where you watch one video on YouTube and all of a sudden you got 20 recommendations for similar videos. No, I was just interested in this one video. I want to go watch this stuff instead. But that's another.
I've got to admit, to the man that I love and live with, who used to complain about my consumption of iPad and iPhone material, he is now sitting there watching YouTube at night.
Oh yeah.
Because he gets one. Last night it was an 80s, music videos all night.
Oh,
I was
that's
like,
great.
Really?
That's great. I mean, I'd love that, but
it's great. But this was the man who complained. You never put your iPad down. Oh.
I made the mistake of finding out that Bar Rescue, the TV show Bar Rescue, has a bunch of YouTube clips, and of course they're all being recommended. Which that's one of those shows that's a very guilty pleasure. I really shouldn't watch it, but it's so fun to watch sometimes. It's just that reality TV. But anyways, we're rabbit trailing.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole.
But it kind of shows the problem with a lot of these social media.
It does, though.
is because it does get that, that pleasure center of the brain. It gets the endorphins going. It gets you, oh, I got to watch another. I got to watch another. Got to watch another. Got to do another. Got to do another. Oh, I'm getting great response. I'm getting great response. And it really is a learning process. And, maybe it is sometimes taking the extreme of saying, no, I'm going to get rid of my smartphone. I'm going to get off of these social media. Some people need to do that.
Yeah.
Others, it's just learning how to
use it,
to tweak it, to get it to work the way you need it to. One complaint I do have about this article, I just want to bring it very briefly, is that last half of it is all about, here's what the lawgivers, what the legislative bodies here in the United States are doing. Here's the laws they're trying to pass. And it's like, that's not the option. That's not the answer. It needs to be personal responsibility. There's only so much our government can do. It ultimately comes down to each of us learning how to use this social media.
Yeah. We need to be in control of this, not the government.
Yeah.
I mean, the government, yes, has to look over some aspects of it and to make sure that it's not a threat. I'll use that term. But no, we are human beings. We like to have control over other things, in other areas right now, which I won't speak of because then that will get us down another rabbit hole. But this is where we need to take control over. These devices, these technological advances are not to overtake us. We are to control them and use them for the good. That's what we should be doing.
It's interesting. Dom found a quote from the U.S. Supreme Court in 1925. It was the case of Pierce versus the Society of Sisters. And in this decision by the Supreme Court, again, 100 years ago almost, the child is not the mere creature of the state. Those who nurture him and direct his destiny have the right, coupled with the high duty, to recognize and prepare him for additional obligations. And that really echoes what the church say. I should have thought of it. I should have gone to the catechism, because I know the catechism has some great insight on, the role of parents in raising children. But think of the baptismal rite. When children are brought to me as a priest, are brought to the church to be baptized, that there are multiple times where the priest tells the parents, you have an obligation here now with this child. Kind of the clearest one is after the baptism, the godparents are given the baptismal candle, and they light it off the Easter candle. And the priest says, receive the light of Christ. Parents and godparents, it is your responsibility to raise this, to keep this light shining brightly. I should have grabbed, of course, my baptismal book is right behind me.
You're doing quite well. Keep going.
I've done it enough, but, to keep the light of Christ shining brightly in this child's life, to raise them in the faith. Again, that's paraphrasing the baptismal rite. The church is very clear. It is not the federal government. It is not the state government. It is not the county. It's not the school that is to raise the child. It's you.
Right.
And, you need to be raising them in the faith. You need to be raising them how to be moral. You need to be raising them how to use these technologies well.
Right. Exactly. And see, and sometimes I want to shake parents and just say, look, you're willing to go to bat for your kid on a whole bunch of other things. You need to do there. You need to do it here too. Don't just say, I have no idea how this works. Learn how it works.
And there are tools out there. I know we've talked about some of this stuff in other Secrets of Tech. They're out there. There's lots of sites. There's lots of pages there's lots of tools out there for parental controls. It's out there. Just learn how to use them.
Exactly.
So I think we've kind of beat that subject into the ground pretty well, but because we've of course, and we have talked about some of these things before. You can go back through, if you go to sqpn.com/tech and you look through our back catalog, not just Joanne and I, but other panelists have talked about some of these issues when it comes to technology. So go ahead and go take a look at that. I think you'll find a lot of really good stuff to help you. Before we go on to our headlines we want to talk about this week, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who made it possible for us to create the Secrets of Technology. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Technology and all the shows we have here at StarQuest. You can join them by going to sqpn.com/give and join our patron campaign. So a couple of headlines we want to go through. First one, many of us have dealt with the big big cable, the big cable companies, the big internet companies, and there's certain ones like Comcast that's got a reputation of being particularly horrible. But Spectrum, another one, has joined that list. The headline is "Renew with us or your credit score suffers," Spectrum warns. And it's out of the Los Angeles Times, but I saw another video. There's a lawyer online a YouTube video who talks about this. Another one is "Renew your service or you'll trash your credit score," Spectrum tells ex-customer. And what happened was this gentleman in the Los Angeles area received a letter from Spectrum, the cable company, cable internet company, Spectrum, that said, as a one-time courtesy, the company will cancel debt it claims he owes and will stop reporting him to credit agencies as a deadbeat. The problem is he canceled his Spectrum account years ago and doesn't owe them a penny. So it sounds like what happened is this company has a letter they send out to people who maybe have a debt. You know, let's say they got the account, they got an account, they're using their service and they aren't paying for it. So eventually the company cuts off their service. This is the letter they sent to them saying, hey, if you want your credit score to be better, pay your debt, or at least, we'll work with you to get your debt, either absolved or paid off or whatever. And then it'll help your credit score. And of course they do the well-established credit history will allow you to qualify for lower mortgage rates, better chance of obtaining credit card, et cetera, et cetera. You know the whole routine.
Oh.
And I like the point this columnist said, maybe it's just me, but that has a Sopranos type ring of, you made a nice life for yourself. It'd be a shame if something happened to it.
These companies are getting so greedy. I've got to use it. They're getting so greedy that even though they have a lot of customers and are making a lot of money, bottom line, even though they want to cry poor mouth,
right?
That they have to resort to tactics like this in order to get more customers. I'm sorry, that really fries me.
And the only thing I can think of what happened is somewhere there was a glitch in a computer system and it sent out this letter to a guy who shouldn't have gotten it.
I'd like to think that, but I'm going to be a little bit more jaded and say no. What they're trying to do is just, anybody who they want to get back, they're going to start using strong arm tactics. And it's not appropriate.
It's so frustrating with these big companies that there isn't any kind of common sense in them to have, more personal connection to the people they serve, through a customer service or whatever. But then, you get stuff like this where they send a letter which basically like, you sign up with us again or we're going to hurt you. And the interesting thing is he mentions this guy looks like he's got really good credit. This is one of these guys who's responsible. Right. He said he had like one late credit card payment when he was on vacation a year ago or something like that, which, I can't imagine what that's like. I've got plenty of late payments on this and that. I'm not always the most responsible in making my payments. But,
most people are very good at it and most people miss every once in a while. And yes, you get the nasty gram, as my husband calls them. And you go back. I've missed payments sometimes just because it fell on the wrong time on a calendar month and I've just forgot about it. But what even gets me with this article is it said it specifically encourages him to sign up for internet service at the introductory rate of $49.99 a month for the first 12 months, and then it jumps to $74.99.
Which
bait and switch.
They do it all the time. And of course you look, oh yes, you get this nice letter of here's how much it costs, and then in the like 4-point font, after 12 months the rate will increase.
Right.
I mean, you literally have to have if you don't have perfect vision, you have to use a magnifying glass to read the small font on the back of the page or whatever.
It's the perfect bait and switch.
Yeah.
And they're still doing it. And I would love Congress to go after that kind of stuff, because I think all it does is it makes people sign up for things they don't want. And then some of them do default because they can't afford it.
Exactly.
So it perpetuates the problem that it's trying to supposedly not have happen.
Right. And you might be able to afford $100 a month for this great cable package with internet and phone. but they might not be able to afford $200 a month.
Right.
Once it goes up, and that's what I was talking. Actually, I was talking with my dad a few weeks ago, and he was saying, yeah, they've got cable and phone and internet. I think it's through Spectrum. Yeah, and they're paying upwards of $200 for the whole package, and it's like, ooh, I've got, I'm paying $100 a month for Starlink, but that's only because the other options here aren't that great. But it's frustrating with these companies where they do this, and they've done this for years. I had DirecTV for quite a few years, and they did the same thing. Every year the price went up and the price went up and the price went up, and I went from $50 a month for DirecTV to well over $100 a month before I finally canceled it. And and it's the I don't know, these companies seem to be making a lot of money, but they also seem to be jacking everything up.
And right now, and my husband always says, and they'll jack it up and they'll say it's because of COVID that all of this is happening. And then once the pandemic is over, they won't bring the price down.
Right.
So it's a money grab.
And so I'd be watching, if you've got some of these companies, like Spectrum, watch, if you get a letter like this, take it seriously. Again, according to this gentleman who got the letter, it doesn't show up on his credit report. They're not reporting him for late payments or anything like that. But keep an eye out because, credit, I hate to say it, but our credit score can affect a lot of things in our life.
Yes, it can.
And it's not just about getting loans. So keep an eye on it. Keep these companies, keep vigilant that they don't pull stuff like this.
And take a look at your credit scores at least once a year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very much so. And the nice thing is there are some credit card companies that will show you your numerical score. Like every month you can go and look at on your statement, it'll show what your current score is. So keep an eye on that, because if it starts going down, that could mean there is something on your credit report that needs to be looked at closer.
Right.
Mistakes do happen. So it's a good thing to keep an eye on.
Yes. Higher numbers are good. Lower numbers are bad. Just know that about credit scores.
You've seen all the commercials and, on a kind of more interesting note, Beethoven never finished his 10th symphony. Computer scientists just did.
No.
So this is getting into the AI, the artificial intelligence. More and more places, people are trying to use artificial intelligence to fill in gaps or to do things, try to get artificial intelligence to think like people. Coming up here in a couple of weeks, there's going to be a live, I think it's actually been recorded. I think it's pre-recorded, but it's going to be released, where some of the actors of Stargate SG-1 and Stargate Atlantis are going to read an artificially intelligent AI created script. They're going to do a table read of this script, and it sounds like it's completely bonkers, is what the reports are saying. Well, in this case, Beethoven died while writing his 10th symphony. Of course, people know his 9th symphony, his 5th symphony, very famous. Those are probably his two most famous symphony. Of course, he was a very, very prolific composer, hundreds and hundreds of pieces to his name. Well, he died as he was taking notes about his 10th symphony. So he had little scribbles, little snippets. They took these snippets and they put them together to create this symphony, and then a symphony orchestra played it.
The musician in me is crying crocodile tears right now over this. You can't do that. Okay, well, most of the greatest composers have left unfinished works for a reason. Now, Mozart left unfinished works on the Requiem, and one of his apprentices finished it. We all know that. Bach left unfinished work. And Beethoven's Ninth, with that Ode to Joy in it, that was definitive of Beethoven's legacy. Why would you want to mess with that other than the fact that you can? Why mess with that?
What it is. That's basically what it is. This is the famous line from Jeff Goldblum. You were so concerned about whether or not you can do it, you never stopped to think about whether or not you should.
Exactly.
Paraphrasing. But it's
But you're not going to get anything more. I mean, this was scribble. Any musician, I mean, I've scribbled as a musician. You know, I've wanting to do harmonies on stuff, and you sit there and you go, nah, I would never do that again. No, that doesn't work. You don't want to put those together and say this is a Beethoven work. Beethoven's probably rolling over in his grave saying, leave me alone.
Roll over Beethoven.
Exactly.
That was a song
I said that
50s.
purposely.
No, and the article talks about, and I'm sure Dom will have it in the show notes, talks about how they did it, and, you know, that there had been attempts before to take these scribbles and to, you know, to develop something. And you listen to, there's like a 3-minute clip of this that you can go listen to. Of course, you know, if you want something bigger, I think you got to pay for it. But you can go and listen to this 3-minute segment, and it sounds like Beethoven. I mean, it's clearly of his style, you know, but it's, as one person puts it, that it's almost a parody of Beethoven's style.
Yeah.
And it still shows the limits of artificial intelligence. And there were parts of where humans still had to intervene. Like, was this sketch a part of a certain area? You know, you talk about, if you're familiar with the phrases scherzo and fugue, then you would know what they're talking about.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, anybody who's done music, who's studied symphonies, you know, scherzo is the excited, you know, the where it really ramps up and really energetic. Fugue is generally much lower, and, you know, and it's, you know, different parts of because symphonies are not static; they're dynamic. There's parts that are excited and energetic. There are parts that are slow and.
A fugue is an incredibly difficult thing to follow, because you've got a melody line that is going to show up everywhere. That's what a fugue is. Whether you're playing it on the piano and it goes from right hand to left hand, or an organ, whether it goes from one manual to another, to a symphony where it goes from one instrument to another. Well, that's the main melody gets repeated for reason.
Talking about Beethoven, I mean, if I go like this, bum 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 bum,
everybody knows that's a fugue. Fifth.
That's Beethoven's fifth. That's how he starts out, and you listen to it. You know, the first few minutes of it is that theme repeated in different ways, different instruments, different groupings. Right. But that's a fugue, and so was this part of a fugue? You know, and so stuff like that.
And then it goes into da 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 dun dun dun, which is a variation of the original fugue. So
exactly.
I studied this. So
yes, I did too a little bit, not deeply. I mean, but we took, you know, an intro to music class at seminary where they talked about a lot of these things, and I've been interested in music. So, anyways, so they took this AI. It came up with the sheet music that they then had the Symphony Orchestra in Bonn, Germany. They played it. And so you can go and listen to it. I'm not going to put it in here. It is, but it, you know, because it is Creative Commons, so it could be shared. But you can go and listen to it. And while it's an interesting thing from a technology standpoint, from the idea that artificial intelligence can do this, it's still, you know, it's still not the same thing. This is not Beethoven. And there's going to be arguments whether or not it should be done. But ultimately, it's out there. You can, if it's something you're interested in, go check it out. Otherwise, just enjoy everything else Beethoven has done.
And as a musician, I will say to my musician friends, don't bother. Yeah. Because we understand that these it's you can't play with 200, 300-year-old stuff. You just can't. The mindset of his genius is way different. Yeah. And that's not something an AI could actually, I think, capture correctly. Because it lived in a different time with a different set of rules, and yes, we could try to program that in, but we're doing it in hindsight, not in, you know. Well, I'm being a snob. Sorry.
Yeah, well, it's not even that. I think it goes deeper to, can artificial intelligence ever actually recreate the creative process of the brain? Can artificial intelligence ever be equivalent to a human brain? And I'd argue, at least with current technology, no. With our current understanding of how computers work and our current understanding of how the brain works, no. Because there's so much more to the brain than just a computer. The brain is not a wet computer. I mean, I know that's the current analogy people use, but there's so much more. And again, this goes deeper into what are we as human beings on a spiritual level, because our creativity, how our brains work ties so deeply into ourselves as human beings. It's not just, the soul and the body are not separate. The brain, the mind is not separate from the rest of us. And artificial intelligence cannot recreate that, at least not currently, and maybe never.
Well, I think it can create its own.
Right.
We can program it with a sampling of things, and it would probably, and say, you are, write the program. You can choose what you think fits. But to recreate the mindset of Beethoven.
Right.
I don't know. It's not possible.
Or the authors of a Stargate plot or whatever,
Now that genius has sailed or died or whatever, and we need to appreciate it for what it left us. That's how I'm looking. I'm such a musical snob when it comes to that.
There you go. And then one more quick article, one that you brought up, Joanne. Amazon brings Alexa to hospitals and senior living centers. So Amazon has been doing things where they're trying to get Alexa, and sorry if I set it off, the A-lady, to different places like hotels, like apartments. And now they're focusing on hospitals and senior care centers, nursing homes, assisted living homes, places like that, where it's the A-lady, the devices, the Amazon devices are linked to like the nurse's station, are linked to the central administration of the facility, and not necessarily standalone devices.
Yeah, I like that as someone who has a loved one in a nursing home, but it wouldn't exactly work for my loved one because of her dementia.
Right.
So she would not be able to be taught how to use it effectively. But I could see that there are people in this nursing home that can. So it would probably be, when they can't get up out of bed, a lady, turn this on, or a lady, get me the nurse, or being able to talk to the nurse.
Yep.
If the nurse has something in her ear while they're running around, to say, okay, I'll be right with you, rather than that call board going off, with 20 minutes and nobody answers it.
Right.
There's where I can see the value in hospitals and in nurse and senior living and nursing facilities. But once they get dementia, it's almost impossible.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the vast majority of residents in a care center or those who are in a hospital, it would be very beneficial.
Yes.
Something as simple as, if someone's in the bed and they can't reach the TV remote, it's a lot easier to just say, hey, turn to channel 23, or adjust the bed. The beds are capable of linking into this. I need, raise the head of my bed, so far. Do this, do that.
Especially
simple
helpful.
Things like that.
Especially helpful if you're in traction.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Or, contact they can have it set up where, contact the cafeteria and have this sent up. Stuff like that. I mean, there's very simple things that can be done just for the welfare of the patient. There's simple things for the care of the patient. Again, like you mentioned, doctors or nurses, instead of having to do rounds where they go to each patient, they can just, call them, say, hey, I got a quick question for you.
Right.
And that could make their job much more efficient when they've got 100 patients, instead of having to go from room to room to room, they can just quickly call them and do what they need to do. Obviously, yes, that should not completely replace the in-person care.
No, it shouldn't.
The doctors should be coming to the patient at least once a day. The nurses should be coming to the patient on a regular basis. Right. But there's a lot of things that can be done that don't necessarily need to be.
But it also didn't say in the article whether or not they were putting in, dots or shows either. Right. So if you've got something that has a screen on it, now you even have eyes on the patient.
Exactly.
A hospital that my relative went to because she broke a hip during the pandemic had put in cameras, in, little camera, the little Logitech webcams
right.
in each room so that they could, I don't know if it was because so they could see the patients or if the patients could contact their families. Either way,
right.
If they can put those in a room and use them now, why not something like this?
Exactly.
I think it's a good idea. And as long as Amazon doesn't screw it up,
well,
which is what I'm afraid of. We start using it for other things, even though it does say we're not going to share any personal info.
Yeah. They did say that they're not they're not recording or anything like that, and they're not using it for their usual data tracking or anything like that. But again, we talked about with Facebook and all that stuff, you can't trust these big companies to do the right thing all the time. But it's still, I think it is. If it's done right, it can be a very good thing.
I agree.
It can make people's life in the hospitals better, and it can make it easier for them, for the doctors and nurses and everything to care.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something to look forward to. I'm sure we're going to see this one way or the other eventually.
True.
So let's move on to our picks of the week. And Joanne, I'll let you do your pick first.
Oh, well, this is one of those picks that comes out of necessity when one gets a new office, almost an hour away from home. I picked up recently so that I could not always be looking for running to the kitchen, an electric kettle. Now, these things have been around forever and a day. And basically, your electric kettle was fill it with water, plug it in, and it had a coil in it. And that's all it did was boil your water. Now, however, you can get them with a multitude of new things. The one that I ended up getting was the Cuisinart CPK-17 Perfect Temp 1.7 liter stainless steel cordless electric kettle. Now, why all of that? Here's the deal. This thing, if you're a tea drinker like I am, is like one of the best things, because what it will do is it has separate settings for every kind of different tea. So if you're doing green tea, it's 175 degrees. If it's white tea, it's 185. If you're like me and you don't care, just hit boiling. Yep. And that is for black tea. It has a 1.7 liter max on it. I haven't filled it at all full yet. And it also has a keep warm. So it will go through its cycle. It will boil your water, and then it'll keep it warm for 30 minutes. But I'll tell you, my kettle stays warm, I'd say, for at least an hour and a half afterwards. And then it starts to really cool off. These things are great for offices.
Oh, yeah.
When you don't have a little kitchen or a place like, that you can go and do this, or you're trying to get tea out of a Keurig that everybody has had coffee in. Let me tell you. Not a fan. So it right now on Amazon, oh geez, it's more expensive than I bought it. It's $99. It's $100 right now on Amazon. I had gotten it on some sale at $69.
Right.
So watch out for these sales coming up, because if you're in the market for something like this, it's a tea kettle, but it's got technology in it, and I still like stuff like that.
Well, and these things are nice for not just tea. If you do French press coffee, it's got a French press setting for 200 degrees so that you can heat, for coffee. If you do
hot
instant
chocolate
soups or ramen, you can use these. There's all these kind of options. Yeah, these are great. I mean, I've had the $20 cheapy ones, but something like this is nicer.
And this is good too, because the carafe separates from the base. Not, the real cheap ones don't do that. The coil is in the inside.
Right.
This is all the mechanism is in that base, and that's what heats up the carafe.
That's great, where it heats up the bottom of the carafe, and that's that's safer too.
It is much safer.
Those coils can burn out, and cheap ones can cause fires. So that's good.
I've seen barnacles on coils, but I won't say where.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's either they boiled it out dry or they used it to cook their soup in it. But that's another story. Which, by the way, don't do that. Yeah. Great pick. Yeah, those are very handy things to have. My pick, I'm going to do something different. I am going to pick a game that is only available, at least this version of the game is only available for Android, because there's always picks that they're only available for iOS. So I have to do one for once that's not available for iOS. So yeah.
Go ahead.
And actually, the game I picked, I'm sure there's a version like this for iOS as well. It's Retro Minesweeper. Now, if you remember, Windows 3.1 had the good old Minesweeper game that between that and Solitaire, much productivity was lost for decades.
Yeah, I have to admit that.
So this is not made by Microsoft. This is made by another company, but it looks identical to the Windows 3.1 Minesweeper, but it has a lot of options. Of course, it's got the classic 9x9 with 10 mines. That's the one that everybody played to death.
Oh.
But it can go up to 30x24 with 180 mines. So that's a pretty packed screen. And it's got lots of other options. You can, it looks like the original Minesweeper, but you can get other themes for it, of course. You can do other things. You get coins that you can use to continue a game if you blow up. If you do it wrong, I want to continue it. You can hit continue. Otherwise, you can restart just as normal. It does have ads. However, I can't remember exactly. It was like $2 or $3. Let me see if I can find it on this sheet here. It's only like $2 or $3, couple of bucks to get rid of the ads permanently. Obviously, you can watch ads for more coins or whatever. You know how that goes, but it's a lot of fun because it's just a simple Minesweeper. You can flag the mines. You can you click a number that it's clear and it will clear more of the screen. And it's a good way to waste a few minutes. So it's Minesweeper Classic Retro by Still57. And like I said, it's only for Android. And I'm sure there's one for iOS out there somewhere that's very similar. But it's just, we know these games. They're a lot of fun.
But don't tell me because then I'll want it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you find an iOS one, send Joanne a copy of it. No, I'm kidding.
No. Please.
So that's our show today. We thank you for listening. Be sure to follow this show. If you enjoy what we do here on Secrets of Technology, and be sure to follow it on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or all the great places where you can find podcasts. And of course, you can also find it on the SQPN YouTube channel. To find previous episodes of Secret of Technology and to send feedback, please visit sqpn.com/tech. You can email us at tech@sqpn.com or follow StarQuest on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia or on Twitter at SQPN. For today, thank you, Joanne, for joining for the Secrets of Technology.
Thanks, Father Corey.
And again, I'm Father Corey. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Technology on StarQuest.